A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Nerf Secrets Revealed Aftersought. And for the record, this is an Alpha Strike blaster, and I could say for sure that, well, the name's already intriguing, right? I mean, we've been there before, haven't we all? This is what you'd call the Hammer Storm, but because it's an Alpha Strike blaster, give it a freaking zoology-based name. My gosh! So you know what? I already came up with one here. I call this one the Harpy. A type of avian sort of creature out there, but overall, I will say for sure that this does in fact have a lot of things that I will actually talk about right now, because first of all, this design is kind of wicked. I mean, look at this. It's basically just that of some other hammer action revolver based blasters out there, like the Lawbringer, the Hammer Shot, and some others out there. Except this pretty much takes it in quite a few notches. Mainly because of that. I mean, you could do the same exact kind of action with the Hammer Shot and probably the Lawbringer as well, but here's another thing that I found out not too long ago after I bought it. Yeah, who would have thought that you could have slam fire in a hammer-based blaster like this? Just hold down the trigger and use your other thumb to grab onto the hammer and release it after pulling it back all the way. And, I mean, that's just incredible, actually. So overall, when it comes to its functionality, it's doing pretty darn well as far as it goes. However, the process of reloading, it may seem more complicated than necessary because of its large, bulky sort of design. I mean, all this extra plastic, it probably wasn't necessary. But you know what? To include a few things on here, like a couple extra sling attachments, like down here? That kind of looks ridiculous, actually. I don't know who would hang it on their wall like that, or put it up like this. I mean, I'd prefer this spot over here. I mean, yeah, this is perfect, actually. It almost is completely vertical, not all the way, but some of the way, like, just some degrees off. But, you know, other than all that, I mean, look at how slim this thing is. Like, in general, that's less than 2 inches of width itself. So, this is pretty much one of the slimmest blasters I currently have in my collection. So, I give it a couple more points for that. Also because it includes a few tactical rails, one on top, of course, so you could put an extra attachment on here, like a scope or a red dot sight, or a dart storage. But speaking of dart storage, that's pretty much where this thing comes in handy. You could store extra darts down there if you wanted to. And going back to tactical grips though, I mean, down there, I don't really see much point for that. I mean, you could put a foregrip down there and it still wouldn't really do much for you, because honestly, holding it like this is actually not bad for me. So the ergonomics when it comes to putting your other hand on the blaster, unless you want to do one-handed like I usually do, but sometimes the balance, because of how much plastic is on the front end of it, it kind of gets a little off balance and a little off center. So using both hands can kind of become handy when it comes to operating it in general. So I basically give it points for its functionality, where you can use the simple single fire action with just the pull back of the hammer and pulling the trigger, or the slam fire. I mean, this is one of the only examples of hammer-based blasters with slam fire sort of action in it. And I'm just impressed by this factor. So I give it a few more points for that. I give it a few more points for the usage of, well, dart storage. And not to mention its ergonomics in general, like when it comes to handling the actual grip. I mean, I know I've said before that the Alpha Strike blasters have been notorious for the kind of grips that Hasbro has put on them, just to make them more cheap. But this blaster actually is one of the only few that I've had so far in my collection that does not feel as cheap. I mean, There's a crap ton of plastic on here, but it probably serves a few purposes. The usage of some extra sling attachment points, including this pretty weird one on here, I'd say it's unnecessary. Don't use it, please. But other than that, the Harpy is pretty darn good. As an Alpha Strike Blaster, I'd say this is a pretty good one to go out with. My favorite of all time is still going to be the Wolf, but the Harpy here is pretty close behind. Mainly because its ergonomics are done somewhat right, and its functionality is priceless to me. And also the usage of extra sling attachment points, tactical rails, and a dart storage here makes for some pretty good usage of your time whenever you're on the battlefield. However, I almost forgot about one other thing here. Invisible integration, and here we go. Well, that kind of sums it up. I give it a big score for what it is. Harpy gets itself a 9.4 out of 10, so slightly under that of the Surgefire, which I just reviewed yesterday. But let's not forget that there's still a huge amount of Nerf blasters I have yet to talk about after this. There's plenty of others that I'm going to have to start talking about at some point, so let's just say that I'm not at the end of the line just yet. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.